Hello again, my friends, and you are my friends, and welcome to Transfer Live Show. I'm, of course, your host, the Gov. Thank you for joining me on this Friday evening. Another transfer, third one in the door. Greaves from Hull. We've got Delap rumours, obviously a deal all but done there. We've got Sammy Szmodics, £6 million bid apparently on the table, courtesy of Phil Hammett, TWTD, dropping that article a couple of hours ago. Lots to unpack. We are live again tomorrow night, 8 p.m, so we'll do a longer show, more in depth tomorrow night. But I want to get some thoughts on the latest signing. We've got two ways you can get involved. Well, three ways if you're watching on catch up. Don't forget, if you are on catch up, where you been? How was your Friday night? FTA, comment for the algorithm. But if you're watching live, you've got two ways you can get involved this evening via that live chat, which many of you are doing already, or you can click the link, which is coming very shortly, to come on the show and have your say in your own words. You only need a microphone to do so. But, you know, if you have a webcam as well, brilliant. But come on, have your say in your own words on what is a fantastic piece of business, in my opinion. I've seen £15 million rumour. I've seen £18 million rumour. Officially an undisclosed fee. Signing on a 5-year deal. Get used to those ITFC fans. Yeah, what are you thinking? Don't forget, as always, we are partnered with Match Bingo. Play Match Bingo, win cash prizes. And each time you play, you do support the crucial work of the East Anglian Air Ambulance. £2 a bingo card. Of course, got the England game tomorrow. That will be on there. And various different sports throughout the summer. Over 18s, be gamble aware. I want to get a couple of thoughts before I bring in our guest from the podcast, Hull and Back. He's official, not official name, but his name is Old Grandpa Joe, which I absolutely love. But Joe is his name, from Hull and Back. He'll be jumping on just a second to tell us what sort of player we're getting, how we fit into the dressing room, etc., etc. STSD says we are definitely staying up with this man at the back. Jack Swan is loving the photo that ITFC have released of Greaves outside Playford Road Training Centre with the new ITFC shirt, which, by the way, every time I see it, can't wait. Mine's coming tomorrow. Just gets better and better, particularly the calibre of player we've got in it. I mean, long gone are the days of that triple signing, which we shan't mention, but long gone are the days. Long gone are the... but by the way, but just because I've seen Szmodics' name in the chat, how good is it to read an article that says personal terms won't be an issue? I've grown up supporting town where personal terms were the biggest issue because we wouldn't pay anybody. Says, fuck, I'm in some sort of fever dream. I really am. I must carry on. ICT Blue forever. Delap tomorrow? ? Absolutely, that was rumbling on, but we believe it's fairly close. CF, wish it was a double, but can't complain. Norman, I've been so excited by this transfer window. Amari, Ben Johnson, Greaves, all good players with room for improvement. I'd be so disappointed if we sign Szmodics. A one-season wonder who has peaked, says Norman. That is a big, big statement by Norman. That's what we do here. It's your opinion. You say it. Come on the platform. Come on the chat. Have your say, and we'll sort of discuss it, as it were. And we'll get into that probably more tomorrow. So joining me now from Hull and Back is old Grandpa Joe. Grandpa Joe, welcome in. How are you doing?
Good, mate. Good. Well, I say good.
Are you good, though?
Personally, I'm all right. The last few hours, you guys are in dreamland. The last few hours and the last few weeks, just all together for us, has been a total shambles. This is possibly the worst pre-season I've ever known. And I've seen pre-seasons where Steve Bruce left. Alan McGregor got injured. Moses Odubajo got injured. Harry Maguire got injured. Michael Dawson got injured. Abel Hernandez got injured. Mo Diame got sold. And we had the Alams in charge. And there's a fantastic photograph Curtis Davis posted at the time. This was in 2016 of like him, Adama Diamande, Sam Clucas, David Myler, Tom Huddleston, Andy Robertson, and 3 or 4 others when they were on pre-season in Austria, doing a little team photo and tweeting it that this is our official team photo for this season. And I took it upon myself the other day to poorly edit current players' heads over those. So we're going out to Istanbul with a couple of academy lads. Stan Ashby, who's 17, son of our legendary captain Ian. We've got no official recognised striker at the moment, and we've got a friendly tomorrow.
The keeper obviously just turned you down.
Oh yeah, I don't
know.
He was meant to
go. We've been there. We've been there, Joe, as Town fans. You know, we've had absolute shambles of windows over decades, which is how we end up in League One. So I can absolutely sense and feel your pain and share it to an extent.
We lost out to Kiefer Moore, to a financially unstable Sheffield United coming out of the Premier League who don't know what their ownership situation is. And he was meant to be on a flight to the Turkish FA base where we're staying tonight.
Sadly, he's not. He's going to Sheffield United. That's what so that's the way it is. But one player who's also not on his way to Turkey for the pre-season is on the way down the A14 to Portman Road, and that is, he's obviously already there, but it is of course Greaves. And Owen says here, Rolls-Royce defender enters the chat. And We've got a lot of those sort of comments. Talk to us then. What sort of player are we getting? £18 million? Talk to us.
So, first of all, I'll start with the fee. 15 million could rise to 18 is the reported fee today. Local press for us, who are out there in Turkey with our side at the moment, said that it'd be about, if you pulled off both Philogene and Greaves, which Philogene hasn't happened, and I'm sure we'll talk about that, it would have been about 40 million, which works out about 20 each, so that's cool. And then talking to someone very senior at Hull City today, one of the journos said that combined the Philogene to Aston Villa, back to Aston Villa deal and Greaves to you guys could be worth about 50 million quid if all these add-ons come off. And it was reported we've got a massive sell-on clause on Greavesy. I'm not sure how that'll work with Philogene going to Aston Villa now. Excuse me. But I think it's good we've got it because he's going to be some player. I've said all summer, if Jacob Greaves gets this move right, then he stands himself in incredible stead for being in the England squad for the 2026 World Cup. Out of all the clubs that were linked, Ipswich came in quite late. So when I was saying all this stuff that I'm about to repeat, Ipswich didn't even enter my mind because he was linked with Crystal Palace, West Ham, Brentford, Everton. I said Everton wouldn't have suited him because he couldn't show how good he was on the ball. Brentford probably not because they slipped down the league and Keane Lewis Potter went there from us a couple of years ago and hasn't done particularly well, but he did arguably make that move at the wrong time, could maybe have done with another year, and Greavesy's done another 2 and it's worked out for him. So I said his best move would have been a West Ham or a Palace because they're teams who want to push up the league and they've got teams with the pedigree of getting players in the England squad. Ipswich come in. And when you look at who the manager is, the style of play, it's a really, really good move for Jacob Greaves in terms of he'll get minutes, I think. Or he's a left-footed centre-half. They are so few and far between, and he should slot right in on the left side of your back four alongside Leif Davis. He did do some left-back stuff when Liam Rossigna first came in because we needed more height and we were conceding set pieces for fun when Liam Rossigna came in. So he did a bit of a job at left back, but unless there's a disaster with Leif Davis, you won't need to do that. I mean, you all know that. I know that. And look, Jacob on the ball is obviously where he's best. Put it this way. I've known Jacob Greaves for about 6 years now. First interviewed him and got to know him when he signed his first professional contract for us in the summer of 2019. He went out on loan to Cheltenham for the 1920 season, really impressed in League Two. Then we were relegated to League One, played 41 times in the league that season. And from when he broke into the team, kicking out Jordi Device as the left-footed centre-half for Grant McCann, he's never, ever been out of it unless of an injury. was an incredible centre-half, always knew he was going to be an incredible centre-half. And people then, when he made his debut, thinking, right, well, his dad, Mark, played for us in the 90s and he's a bit of a City cult hero. And him on the right side, Jacob on the left side, both in their peaks. Chef's kiss. Then we went up into the Championship, won the league in 21-22. And I said at the start of that season, the Jacob Greaves we see now in these opening few games will be incredibly different to the Jacob Greaves we see at the end of the season. Physically, that was true because he grew his hair out. Second of all, I thought because he's still only young and he, like in terms of defensive nous and what have you, he'll come on leaps and bounds. He did exactly that. Signed a 4-year contract in the summer 2022. Beat off interest from Middlesbrough. They bid about £8 million for him, which is why I think you've got a very, very good deal. Because he's more than double the player he was then. And then, well, when Shota Arveladze took over for that brief time and when Grant McCann's stint was sort of coming to the end, Jacob Greaves was playing as the left-sided centre-half in a back three. And that allowed him to sort of explore another bit of his game in terms of going forward. He's got a habit, very much like Harry Maguire did when he played for us. He just had this habit of getting the ball at his feet and going on these mazy runs forward. And Greavesy loved doing it. And there's a clip, if you go on Jacob Greaves' Twitter, there's a clip of him from when we played Rotherham last season. With a couple of 1-2s with Scott Twine and Jean-Michel Serre, I think it was. He went from our defensive third right the way up into the box, and he saw his name in lights, having just gone for it and seen a gap. He would have made it 4-0. Brilliant feet in the box. Victor Johansson made the save, and Liam Delap was square, screaming for the ball. And Jacob Greaves, when Johansson saved it, he just knew. He saw Liam Delap as he sort of put his head in his hands, and he knew, I should have squared it, but I saw my name in lights. Absolutely. And, well, look, like I say, on the ball, he's brilliant. And one of the best passers of a ball centre-half I've seen. Michael Dawson did these incredible diagonal long balls for us when he played for us. And Harry Maguire started to mimic them. And Jacob Greaves was doing a little bit of that. Liam Rossinha, when he first came in, was talking to Matty Jacob at left-back and to Jacob Greaves as well about the diagonals and telling Jacob Greaves, look, if you can know that your winger on the opposite flank is going to be over there, just put your head down and focus on the contact. Don't bother, because you know that a fullback will overlap, or you know the winger's going to be there. Just focus on striking it. And that came on massively. Defensively, top notch. A point I made in my video I just put out on my YouTube was that Jacob was walking a bit of a tightrope for the second half of the season. He got booked quite a lot quite early in the season. So had a 5 yellow card suspension in September. And then right the way through to the middle of March, he knew he was walking a bit of a tightrope, and it got to like 1 or 2 left. And he knew it, right? It's sort of going through his mind, right? I just don't want to be suspended. And that made him a better defender. He said it himself. It made him a better defender because he thought less about just trying to stop it and taking the booking, and more about how he could manage it and like manipulate the player into doing certain things and favouring him. And he got booked walking from his 5 yellow card suspension against Plymouth at the end of September. His 10 yellow card suspension came after, where he got his booking against Leicester at like middle of March, just before the international break. And even then, that booking was debatable. So he's an incredible centre-half. And I said to you before we went live, as soon as Ant put this opportunity in the group chat to talk about Jacob Greaves, I jumped at it because this one hurts. Absolutely hurts letting him go. On a personal level, because like I say, I've known Jacob and I get on quite well with Jacob. I've sent him a message saying, look, when you're pulling on that England shirt one day and you're bossing the Premier League, don't forget where you came from. Hasn't replied to me yet. He must have had quite a busy day. I wonder what's been going on. But no, he's a phenomenal player, and I really, really hope you guys stay up, because we've seen teams come up from the Premier League and spend money, and you've got Amari Hutchinson in permanently, Ben Johnson, Jacob Greaves. Now you were aiming for Jaden Philogene. Might you go for Jack Clark or someone like that? Because the Philogene move seems to have fallen by the wayside. But in Jacob Greaves, you've got a phenomenal Premier League ready centre-back who is no doubt going to be in the England squad. If you guys do well this season, and Kieran McKenna is a brilliant young manager who will have a field day teaching Jacob Greaves his ways, and he's got good knowledge of that already, talking to Liam Rosenior and coaching under Liam Rosenior. But yeah, wow, what a player. What a player. Like I say, on the ball, technically brilliant, defensively brilliant marauding runs. You've got him at a bit of a bargain. I'd say in this market he's worth at least 20 million plus some add-ons as well.
Look at this.
And this is the most frustrating thing for us at the minute, because our owner, as much as he's done brilliant things for the club off the pitch, on the pitch we seem to be run financially and like transfers a bit of a shambles. It's all a right mess at the minute. He said at the start of the window that we didn't need to sell Jacob Greaves or Jaden Philogene. And he wouldn't undersell. And he said he wouldn't accept anything under 25 million for Jaden Philogene. And at that point, we all thought, right, incredible. We're about 6 weeks down the line. Jacob Greaves, if reports are to be believed, has been massively undersold. Jaden Philogene, we were always going to lose 30% of the fee because that's a clause Villa had. As it turns out, Aston Villa are buying him back a year after they sold him to us for 5 million quid. And he's worth 20, 25. We're going to get 12.5 million for him.
Ouch. Disgusting.
And as much as I didn't want to lose either of them, I came to the conclusion a few weeks ago that we did need to let them go because we need them to fund the window. We've lost from our starting 11 last season. Ryan Allsop's been sold, which is no massive loss. We've lost Jacob Greaves. We've signed Ryan Giles after his loan, but it looks like he might be moving straight on to Middlesbrough, which is incredibly strange. Skerry's been linked with a move to Saudi Arabia. We've lost Tyler Morton. We've lost Ozan Tufan, who wanted to go back to Turkey, which, by the way, I don't think happens if Liam Rosenior is still the manager. But that's a whole other kettle of fish, and it's sort of like an unwritten rule that we don't talk about it now in our fan base because we just want to get behind Tim Walter, who's come in. But yeah, then we've lost Philogene and striker as well. Liam Delap loan ended. Noah Ohio loan ended. Aaron Connolly released. Billy Sharp was a pointless signing anyway, but is released. And all the while we had Oscar Estupinian out on loan, who scored 13 goals in his debut season for us, coming from abroad. By the way, more than Jaden Philogene did last season. And the new manager's come in and said, hang on, he can score goals. He'll fit my system. Why the hell isn't he here?
Sounds like a real...
It's all a little bit of a mess, but...
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for in more stronger terms. But that is a great word mess. You know, it's not good to see either, obviously, because I've seen that it was periphery of the playoffs last year. I want to mention Delap just a second. Before I do, you mentioned you know Greaves a little bit. What sort of character can Tam fans know that they're getting in this man?
Well, what a bloke. What a bloke. I won't reveal all the details of my last in-person conversation with Jacob Greaves, but we were just talking about he's just coming out of training at this point and he's going for a coffee. And we're just sort of having a conversation about life. My name's not Joseph, but he pulls up and says, all right, Joseph, what can I do for you today? And, that's top bloke. And we're just talking about life and asked me about how my A-levels went. And we were talking about my prom and having maths teachers getting smashed with us in a club at 1 a.m. on a Thursday when they're both teaching at 8:30 the next morning. Exclusive, Jacob Greaves hates Jaeger. But we just had...
No Jaeger train with Jacob Greaves?
No. He said, quote, "I hate Jaeger, mate. It's disgusting."
So down to earth,
But yeah,
good guy.
Down to earth, been brought up right, come through our academy, top bloke. And I want the best for him. I really, really do. Talking from a fan perspective and knowing him personally as well. The guy's going to play for England one day. He's got more chance of playing for England than Jaden Philogene has. Mark my words.
Well, got Delap coming up just a second, but Norman says my prediction: Greaves with the first £100 million defender. Do you go with that?
Well, English, left-footed. Who knows?
Yeah.
But incredible. I don't think we'll go that far, but I certainly think in the event you guys are back in the Championship in a year's time, he certainly won't be short of offers from other clubs. I'm sure of that. But like I say, I hope you guys stay up. I really, really do, because I want this move to work out for him.
And a player you've mentioned a couple of times there, but we've also been heavily linked with, almost on the verge of confirmation of signing, is Delap from Man City, on loan at yourselves last year. What sort of player can Town fans expect to see in Delap if or when it is confirmed he is a Town player?
I think it's a matter of when, not if now, isn't it?
I think it is, yeah.
Don't
want to jinx it, though.
However, we've been told Kiefer Moore was a matter of when, not if for us. And look, that's gone down the toilet today, hasn't it?
This is it, you see.
He's now going to Sheffield United. In terms of Liam Delap, I was apprehensive when we signed him because he had a shocking season, really, at Stoke and Preston. Both loans didn't work out for him. But Liam Rosenior sort of took him under his wing and said, "You can suit the way I want to play," because he's... Now, this might sound like a ludicrous comparison, but he's like Haaland not in that he's like a world beater yet, but he will also play for England one day. But in terms of the fact that he's strong, powerful, quick, decent in the air, good in the box, and he'll only get better in the box as he gets more experience. And that was some of the reason why Billy Sharp was brought in, because Billy Sharp is the ultimate poacher. Mm-hmm. And it was hoped that he'd teach the likes of Liam Delap the sort of tricks of the trade in terms of getting yourself in the right position in the right time. And you look at Liam Delap's goals for us, what he scored, was it 8-9 for us, I think? But he had an injury, picked up on New Year's Day and didn't come back in until mid to end of April. Had he not had that injury, with the players around him, like Fabio Carvalho coming in, Abdush Omer coming in, Ryan Giles at left back, he'd have scored 15 goals plus easily. No doubt in my mind. Absolutely no doubt in my mind. So you're getting a player who can do it all up front. And, you know, looking at last season in terms of like Connor Chaplin for you guys, he's the sort of more little pacey mould of striker. And George Hurst was another one who's like Delap in terms of physicality. And forgive me, I'm not sure what George Hurst was like pace-wise. I know he caused us a couple of problems when we played you. But yeah, Jacob Greaves, Liam Delap, you've got two incredible players on your hands.
Beautiful. Joe, you have absolutely made my Friday night. If I wasn't happy enough already at the signing and the potential signing, what you've brought to the table and what you've told us about both players has absolutely wowed me. So if either player needs someone to be their hype man, they need to be giving you a call, because you've absolutely nailed it, particularly for Greaves. But Joe, thank you so much for joining us. Tell people where they can find you more regularly, and then I'll bring some Town fans in. Okay, so we'll go with the podcast first. It's a Hull and Back podcast. We've rebranded a little bit for the Euros to Berlin and Back, and we are firmly in Berlin and Back territory. Come on, England. But we will, of course, be back to Hull and Back to go through the regular ups and downs of being Hull City supporters, myself and Will, Nathaniel and Tom. So you can check us out on Twitter, YouTube and any platform where you get your podcast, because who knows, you might end up signing another one of our players in 3 weeks, but there aren't that many left for you to sign. No, that's it.
We've only got about 6. And for me personally, Twitter @old_grandpa Joe. You can look at me on YouTube as well. where I do this sort of thing, but quite regularly, talk about the signings and the sales. I'll be going out to Turkey with the club next week as well, so you can find me, Old Grandpa Joe, on YouTube. Thank you for having me on, Gov. Appreciate it.
Thank you ever so much. Enjoy Turkey, and thank you ever so much. Look after yourself. Enjoy your Friday night. All the best.
Spot on. See you later. Cheers, guys.
Thank you. So there's Joe from Hull and Back giving us the lowdown on both players. What are you thinking at home? The live chat is going off. There's a link in there as well if you want to come on and have your say. It's our turn now as Town fans to sort of, well, celebrate, because it's a double. Well, it's one signing with one maybe to come, although more or less definitely. What are you thinking? Joe's done such a great job there of hyping everything up. I've now firmly believed the Delap's now signed. Like, my head's just gone absolutely crazy. Stephen Parry, what a hype, man. I mean, wow. What are your thoughts on Greaves then?
I was more positive than what I am.
I know. It blew me away. I was like, is this Stephen Parry? No, it's just Grandpa Joe.
But no, you can't. That's it. 15 million. I thought it was more than that. It was a steal for me.
It's now about Grandpa Joe.
Yeah, that sort of player is. When we played him that 3-3, I'm sure it was in when we had them like 3 shots that nearly went in. I'm sure he blocked 2 of them. You know what I mean? He was like all over the bloody place. I think out of the defenders, he was the only one who was really making an effort. And, he looks the sort of player that Kieran McKenna is going to love to play, love to coach, to train. So far, all of the signings, I would say, that we've got, Amari, Greaves, Ben Johnson, and I suppose we could assume Delap as well. They're all players that McKenna will love to get his hands on and to work with. I'm just loving it right now, because these are just perfect players. They've got high ceilings. They're not there yet. But they've got the potential. And a lot of them, if not all of them, in my opinion, are being bought with one eye on, just in case it doesn't work. Because how many of them are going to go? How many are going to go down and sulk? Probably not many. If you go buying like top level Premier League players who's experienced in the Premier League, probably won't want to if things don't work out. Some of these like Delap and things like that, they'll go again and they'll say, right, I'll prove them wrong. You know what I mean? So I think they're looking at the now, but they're also looking at the what if. Anybody can look at the now and go out and spend 15 million on a Premier League striker who's played 40, 50 games in the Premier League, or 100 games in the Premier League. He won't want to get relegated if things go badly. And unfortunately, nobody wants to talk about it, but the club will have to talk about it, because it's a possibility. It's not an easy league, and it's a war of attrition against a few sides at the bottom. And at the moment, I'm well pleased with all these signings, because I think they're just what we need. They offer depth and they offer flexibility.
Yep.
You've got Delap, who can also play in the right wing and cover Burns. You've got Greaves, who can also play left back. You've got the other guy. Who's the other guy? Ben Johnson, who can also play on the left as well. He can also play in the centre midfield. You've got Amari, who can play across anywhere. So it's covering loads of bases. I just, even though they look pricey on the ticket when you look at them, you look at where the ceiling is, and they're not very expensive. When you consider the likes of Clark went from was it Bristol City for 20 million 5 years ago.
Yep.
That was a centre back 5 years ago for 20 million. We've just got a similar type of striker from Championship for 15 million 5 years on. So you've got to play horses for courses. And I've turned around and said they're all marvellous pieces of business. And like I said, it's been linked that we're looking at Szmodics as well for 6 million. That would be another excellent buy, because I think he's the sort of person who offers something different. He offers that shit house that we don't have much of, you know what I mean? And he will press people till they've dropped dead. And that's what McKenna wants. A lot of these Premier League teams like to tap it about and give, they've got plenty of space, plenty of time. Our team will not give them space and time. They'll be on them as quick as they can. And it will ruffle a lot of Premier League feathers. The bigger teams won't bother them too much because they can play it quick. But some of the smaller teams, the Evertons, the Palaces, the Brentfords, they like a little bit of time. And if you don't give them a little bit of time, I saw that with Palace last season. They press people high, press people quick. Same with Luton, press people high. And they cause problems. And I think that's going to cause a lot of problems for teams next season. So I'm looking forward to it.
Perfect. Neil, who's a Hull fan, says good luck to Greaves. Real character around the dressing room, true professional, and a big leader on the pitch. Be an England team very soon, guaranteed. A bargain at 15 million, which is the overriding theme, really, Stephen. It's an absolute bargain that we've got this player, and obviously Delap possibly also on the way, more or less confirmed, but hasn't yet been confirmed. And you've mentioned Szmodics as well. Steve, anything else before I let you go? You got one more thing, and I'm going to bring in Frank.
A lot of people are mentioning the buyback when it was reported that the Delap deal was done. I don't consider that too much of an issue, because if Man City ever trigger it, it means he's been fabulous. Because
100%.
At the end of the day, they've got Haaland, they've got Alcaraz. You know, he's got to be amazing for him to trigger that buyback clause. So if that never happens, I'm happy anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's exactly a great way of looking at it, as always, Steve. Stephen, thank you so much for jumping on.
Mate. Look after yourself.
And you. All the best, my man. All the best. James says, consider the very strategic thinking behind the transfers. Stephen Latimer, I think I'll be looking at 3 more through the window. A goalkeeper, I'd say, midfielder to support striker. The only feel it's a great gamble to splash the cash. We might surprise the Premier League. And James also says, upgrade on what Luton did last season. Lots of chat about Philogene, who obviously isn't coming to town now, on the way back to Aston Villa. Jack Clark is being mentioned, such as Charlie's comment here. Get Jack Clark in. Apparently twice he was, as Philogene says, Charlie. Mike says Szmodics is a harness upgrade, not a Philogene alternative. Adam says the Szmodics deal was the Premier League version of signing Don Ball, Sonny Aluko, in Adam's opinion. Whatever it is this evening, get it in. I'll come to Frank now. Frank, welcome in, my man. We've heard all those chats. What's your thoughts this evening? We've got Colin waiting in the ring, so what's over to you, my man?
Yeah, well, I'm pleased with the signings so far. Very encouraging. And I don't know about this Renato Tapia, the Peruvian captain, 28 years of age, defensive midfielder. He looks very good. If Ipswich were going to go for him, and he's on a free transfer, but Porto are also interested. But it's good to see finally that we have Jacob Greaves, almost said Jacob. Jacob is the Dutch way of pronouncing it. Jacob Greaves on board, and it looks as if Liam Delap is more or less certain to go. I hadn't heard the latest on Philogene, though. You've informed me something that I wasn't aware of. I thought that Ipswich was still in the mix for him, and he was sent out to Turkey, maybe to say goodbye to his teammates. And the Villa, although they'd activated this cashback clause in their arrangements, it didn't seem that anything was going to materialise. You know something different then with this?
Only what I've seen reported this evening, which I've across various different outlets. I'm going to TWTD. I'm sure I've seen it somewhere, unless I've dreamed it. I might have dreamed it.
I hope you've dreamed it. It'd be nice, because
here we go. Yeah, here we go. Today at 15:53, Frank, Philogene set to rejoin Villa. Hull sit winger Jane Philogene is now reportedly set to rejoin his former club, Aston Villa. And obviously, Grandpa Joe mentioned it earlier in the show about Philogene on the way back to Villa. Apologies. But yeah, so there is that one. But you mentioned in sort of the green room chat that you're worried about the goalkeeping situation.
Yes,
what's your thoughts on that?
Very much so. I mean, we're all talking about these new attack-minded players and defensive players coming in, like Jacob Greaves, 23. He'll be good. He's 6'4", same size as Terry Butcher was, as a matter of interest. But I think when we're talking about defence, there's hardly any mention these days of goalkeepers. It's only a month or so before the season kicks off when we take on Liverpool at Portman Road, and yet it's gone quiet on the goalkeeping front. Carl Rushworth was mentioned a lot. I like Kelleher, the Irish keeper with Liverpool, who has a Christian name that unless you're Gaelic, you'll struggle to pronounce. I like him as well. And why would he sit on the fence for another season, or on the bench warming duties for Liverpool? He's 25 and he's been there for 2, 3, maybe 4 years now, I think. And he's
so it's just to be clear, it's the length of time in the sense of the season's only a month away. We've not yet got this goalkeeper in the door. That's concerning you, the great deal. It's that period of time that we've got left to run, and we've not yet got one through the door, right?
That's correct. That's why I call it finders, keepers, losers, weepers, because if we don't get keepers on board quickly, we're going to be in the S street. You know, we really need keepers, and we need good keepers, and they have to gel into the whole team. What do you think? I mean, as far as I'm concerned, Bill Shankly used to say, you start a team by you start with a good goalkeeper, good centre half, which we've got, good forwards, which we've got, but the keeper is still the missing aspect of this, and it's the most critical, because if you don't have a good keeper, Vladka Adlanki, struggling to pronounce that name. He's from Brno, isn't he, in the Czech Republic? It was strange the way he left, but I think it was because he wanted a 3-year deal. Ipswich were only prepared to give him a 2-year deal because he's 33 now, and he wanted to be number one, which is understandable. I remember Steve saying, oh, he'll accept not being number one, and we had a disagreement. But we're on the same page now, Steve. We agree with most things you say come out of your mouth. I'm in total agreement with now. But I really do believe that is essential, that Ipswich get a good keeper, and maybe not just one, but two, because is Christian Walton, let's think about this, is Christian Walton going to be content as a number two? And let's face it, he doesn't fit into the speedy distribution style that Ipswich demand under Kieran McKenna. So it could well be that and you know, Kieran Slicker, he won't be number two. I don't think. He'd probably go out on loan. So this, to me, is the most critical aspect of it. Forget about all these signings up front and in midfield and in defence. We've got to get a goalkeeper. We've got to do it fairly quick, because he has to gel with the rest of the team, and he's only got 3 or 4 weeks to do it. You know, goalkeepers, that's understanding, they're like a second vice captain, aren't they? They organise marshal of defence. How can you organise a marshal of defence if you come in with 3 days before the transfer window closes or something? This is my concern. This is
all right, and we'll cover that more on tomorrow's show. Frank, before I let you go and bring Colin in one word, sum up your excitement or your thoughts on Greaves to town for 15 or 18 million, although officially undisclosed.
Yeah, well, okay, he's not played in the Premiership, we know that, but he's quality. I think he will be an international in the future. He looks good on the ball. He's very skillful for a centre back, and I think it's an absolutely wonderful signing, especially for that price.
Perfect. Frank, enjoy the rest of your evening and look after yourself. All the best. Thanks for jumping on Talking Town. There you go. The platform that gives you the chance to come on the show and have your say in your own words. Didn't expect the goalkeeper chat to come up tonight, but it has done. That's a great thing about things here at Talking Town. But we'll cover that goalkeeper conversation in more detail tomorrow night with Rich and Matt with me. We've got Sammy Szmodics. We'll cover that more tomorrow as well. We'll also talk about Philogene tomorrow. Transfer sagas. Was it a saga? Are you into the transfer sagas? All of that wonderful stuff. And of course, who do we target now? And we'll, I'm sure, touch on Delap and Greaves a lot more tomorrow. So, don't forget, we are live tomorrow at 8 p.m. as well. Andy Barrell says these transfers are not a gamble. We either make these signings or be a Sheffield United and go straight down. I've looked at the numbers going back 5 years, and Andy is 95% confident we are staying up. Norman McKenna knows we need a goalkeeper. Please stop negative. I don't think Frank was being negative. I think he was saying he would like it done sooner rather than later. We've got Phil was told Ramsdale's agent's been at Portman Road. It's a new one, I guess, as opposed to the Sesco Cop.mil deal. Although if that comes off, I will obviously owe you an apology, Phil, and I will say it live on the air. But I don't see it personally, that one happening. But I know nothing. Stephen, everyone I know are saying we will get a beating at Man City. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a draw first 3 games. I'm looking at 5 points. Stephen is certainly feeling the positivity tonight. Colin, Greaves, Delap. Greaves is confirmed. Delap has yet to be confirmed. But what are your thoughts on the 2 players? You've heard it all tonight. Give us your thoughts now.
Well, good evening, Gav, and good evening, everybody. I was a little bit late in tonight because obviously I've been around my grandchildren's first thing, so I didn't know you're going to be on. So so I came in like about a quarter of the way through.
Just quickly, Colin, before you say that, not the only person who didn't know we were going to be on. If you subscribe to the channel, brilliant. If you haven't, why not? Subscribe to the channel. But when you do subscribe, or if you are subscribed, tap the notification bell, because then you get notified when we're going live and when we've gone live, so you won't miss out on anything this summer. Sorry, Colin, over to you.
Sorry about that, Gav. I was just going to say I tapped into what Joe was saying there, and very, very interested to hear what he got to say. Obviously, I see him a couple of times myself last season, and he seems to be obviously they've been talking about, a very, very good defender.
Mhm.
And also, being left-footed, I mean, fantastic commodity to have, I mean, obviously we had Butch like that, and we had Beattie, and I mean, when you get defenders with a fantastic left peg, they're worth their weight in gold. And I personally think, listening and hearing and reading what I've read over the last week or two, this lad is going to be one hell of a player. And like Mark Ashton has said in previous times, we're going to be a club that go in for players, and obviously, there'll become a time where, if they become England nationals and that, they'll probably, I'm not saying definitely, but probably come to a point where they're worth whatever, 30, 40 million. And, something like Webster, I know it wasn't that amount of money, but he rose considerably in value. And, the rest is history. And I personally think it'll be similar with him, and also with Delap. And Delap, I'm really, really excited about. I hope we certainly get that over the line, because if you remember early in the season, Kieran, put Edmondson in solely with that pace to deal with Liam Delap, and his potential, I think, like Greaves, is very high, and I think it's just so. I just think it's just so refreshing for everybody that what kind of players we're getting in now, what kind of prices we're prepared to pay. And then I heard tonight, I mean, Ian came in whilst I was with my little Maisie, and he said, have you heard about Szmodics? And I said, no, I hadn't. I'd looked at my phone for about an hour or so, and I hadn't heard about that. And I must admit again, I'm really quite excited. I mean, if they're only talking 6 million, I really can't quite believe that, from a bloke who's just 28 years of age, which is a fantastic age, and he's just knocked 27 goals in the bloody championship. I mean, that is a player, and Ian even agreed with me, that's a player who deserves really to be playing Premier League football. And I said to Ian, I said, if we get him, in a little way, it's kind of a little bit similar to when we signed Marcus Stewart, because Marcus Stewart was, at that time when we signed him from Huddersfield, he was a player who was very, very highly rated in the second tier. And obviously one or two managers thought he could, especially Burley, thought he could play in the Premier League, which he was absolutely proven right. And I think that could go down similarly with Szmodics. I mean, look, is this a player who just needs that little bit of a chance, a little bit of a push to get in that Premier League and show people, like Marcus absolutely did, how good he is? Because to be fair, and it was against, I remember the goal he scored against Leeds at the back end of the season. You give him half a chance, and he had people like Rodon and Ampadu marking him that day. You can say what you like. I know they're still in the second tier, but them couple of defenders are international defenders, and he made them look like Sunday League defenders that day. And his finishing is absolutely brilliant. I've got to be honest with you. If it was Jack Clark, it'd be brilliant. If it's Szmodics, it'd be brilliant, But that Szmodics is a poacher, and he knows where that goal is. And I wouldn't be a bit sad if we signed him. I mean, a lot of people have said a lot of rubbish really about him, about he hates the town. Well, I read tonight apparently his parents are still season ticket holders at Portman Road. Whether that's true or not, I don't know.
Well, I don't know, but okay, interesting.
That's what I read tonight, Gov, and apparently he used to come along to Portman Road when he was a youngster, when he was living in Colchester. So,
okay, I didn't know that. Wow. Okay. I don't know if that's obviously
I mean,
confirmed or not.
whether that's true or not, Gov, I don't know. But I read tonight apparently his parents still come to Portman Road. So
there you go.
yeah, but it's all
So what
very,
you're saying
very.
is, if he signs, there might be 2 season tickets up for grabs, because obviously the parents would be moving to to the director's box, won't they, or the players' lounge, right? So there might, if you're listening at home and you can't get a season ticket, you want Sammy Szmodics to be signing for 2 reasons. The second one being there might be 2 season tickets suddenly popping up.
And also, Gov, listening to dear old Frank there and Steve, speaking a hell of a lot of sense tonight as usual. I'm not worried about the goalkeeping situation. I was saying to Ian tonight, I'm more a little bit, I'm sure they've got that deep down in the boardroom and in Kieran's room and whenever little meetings. I'm absolutely sure they've got this goalkeeping thing covered. Who it is going to be coming, I don't know. I mean, everybody's talked about his injuries. I quite like Cooper, at Plymouth. But his injuries are worrying. But I think you'll find maybe in the next 4 or 5 days, I think you'll find there'll be things come on the Ipswich website and stuff about, keepers that we're interested in. And look, Kieran McKenna is by far too good a manager, too good a coach. And Mark Ashton is far too good a CEO to let this just ride, because it isn't going to be left to ride. I mean, we'll get a goalkeeper in. I've got no doubt about that whatsoever. Let's just hope and pray that we get the right one in, because I'll tell you what, this is getting really exciting for me. And I haven't even mentioned Johnson. I think Johnson, for the sound of it, and I was speaking to a West Ham fan today, actually, a West Ham fan who goes through a lot of games, who works in Sainsbury's. I know him quite well. Sandy works at Sainsbury's. And he was saying that a lot of West Ham fans are quite disappointed about losing Johnson. And he was saying he's more than a decent Premier League footballer, which is what we all need to hear, and especially like these players, like it's been said tonight, and quite rightly so. A lot of these players can play different positions, which is gold dust for somebody like Kieran McKenna. And I'm just willing to see how this Greaves gets on under Kieran, because, like, I remember listening to Leif Davis after the Huddersfield game. So I taped that day on Sky, and I watched it all back. And Leif Davis said, when he was talking about Kieran, and I hoped he was going to stay, and he said, I just hope and pray he stays for another few years. He said, because he just took my game onto a different level, and Hutchinson was nodding at the same time. And Amari, what's he going to be like now? Now his head's settled. He knows where he is. He knows where he's staying. He knows where he's living. He's back with the boys, so to speak. I think you're going to find probably a 25% better Amari next season. I just do. I just do.
And that's exciting, because we had a great one last year on loan in the Championship. So to another Amari that's going to be better than 25%, as you just said, would be fantastic. Colin, thank you for jumping on tonight's show. It's really appreciated. We are again live tomorrow 8 p.m. Look after yourself, my man. Bring some fantastic comments in the chat, comments on the show. If you're watching on catch up, comment for the algorithm, like, subscribe. But we are live again tomorrow at 8 p.m. But Town, for now, have signed Greaves from Hull for an undisclosed fee, but we believe it to be between 15 to 18 million pounds. 5-year deal. Delap not yet over the line, but again, confirmation is believed to be around the corner, and we've got a £6 million bid on the table for Sammy Szmodics of Blackburn, according to reports this afternoon. But so we'll come back as soon as there's anything else to tell you, to talk to you about, to discuss, whatever it might be, will return. But until then, look after yourselves, hit the like, subscribe. Don't forget, we are also partnered with Stowmarket Osteopaths. Give Freddie a call. He's the governor there. 01449613633. Stowmarket Osteopaths. Do not live life in pain. Give Freddie a call at Stowmarket Osteopaths. But until tomorrow at 8 p.m, look after yourselves with love, with care. See you soon.